Hello, DM Geezer Jim here. We are continuing along with our read-through, our audiobook reading of Uncaged Faces of Sigil, an outstanding non-player character book. Thank you guys so far for following along, and let's get into it. Real quick, we're looking at Qaida. Qaida is a somewhat important NPC. She has the potential to be very important, tied into a lot of the functions and a lot of the plots and schemes that are going on within the city of Sigil proper. Qaida seems attached. You've probably heard her name mentioned several times in our reading so far, so we're actually going to get directly into her. Real quickly, this entry reads a little bit different. Basically, it's a interview between a thief and Qaida's Mimmer. The Mimmers being the little skulls that record information, well known in Sigil if you're a fan of the Planescape Torment, or if you looked at the 5e Planescape sets and you were probably familiar with this, with the Mimmer named Mort. So this isn't necessarily Mort, different thing, but just kind of drawing the parallels. So we're going to get into this. We're going to read about it as usual. We'll read word for word what's on the page, and then we'll talk about 5th edition changes you might need to make, as well as applications for gameplay, regardless of your decision. So let's get into Qaida. The silver skull hangs in the air right where I threw it, staring at me with its empty eye sockets in the darkness of the alley. So tell me, Mimmer, have you ever been stolen before? Indeed not, rasps the skull. My owner is usually more careful as to my safety, considering my value to her. I expect she has already cast locate object to find me. Guess again, Smiley, I'm the best sharper in the ward. Your owner's probably still back at the Speckled Rat, not even aware that you're missing yet. See, you're plenty valuable to Shemeshka the Marauder, too. The fiend promised me a factal's ransom for delivering you. Must be some pretty important chant tucked away in your head. Say, maybe I can double my take for this job by selling the skull to Shemeshka and then pawning off its chant to another blood. Tell you what, Smiley, let's start with this owner of yours. What do you know about her? Although you currently possess me, I am owned by an Aasimar named Qaida. Her smooth, hairless head and radiant emerald skin are evidence of her celestial father, a planetar who was seduced, some say willingly, by an evil human wizardess. The child of their union was not welcome on Mount Celestia, least of all by her father. Thus Qaida's mother left her in the care of tieflings on the lower plains. They found the child quite a prize, a chance to avenge the proud arrogance of their hated cousins, the Aasimar. The tieflings raised Qaida to be evil, but the mere fact that she is an Aasimar, looking quite like a serenely beautiful human, leads many to trust her implicitly. To further maintain the illusion, Qaida masks her true aura with magic such as undetectable alignment and undetectable lie. Now this is interesting. I never knew those sodding Aasimar could be anything but perfumed do-gooders. What about that dwarf skull? Back in the pub, I saw Qaida hand him a few good palms of gold. He is Tarholt, a trader who sells my owner gems from the Dwarven Mountains on the Outlands. The gold was Qaida's payment for her most recent purchase. Ah, so she's evil and rich enough to buy jewels. I like her better and better. Your owner's got a lot of life in her, Mimmer. Why does she carry that scythe? Why does she wear the black cloak of a Dustman? Qaida spent much of her life in the Cauldron, an island town in Iran's realm on the Grey Waste. She studied under the clergy of Iran, becoming first a priestess and eventually a proxy of the Celtic death god. Her present task is to turn the hearts and minds of the Dustmen away from their general worship of death and towards a more specific worship of Iran. To that end, she has come to Sigil through a portal in the catacombs beneath the mortuary. My owner has joined the Dustmen, hoping to change them from within. She believes that the long-ruling factal skull has ignored the potential might of the faction for too many centuries. With his removal, the Dustmen might be more easily swayed. Depose Skull? Steal the faction? Sure, and I'll get the Batizu and Tonari to kiss and make up. Come on, Smiley, how in the plains does Qaida think she'll succeed? My owner is slowly building a net of contracts and allies both within the faction and without. She spends much time in the alehouses of the lower ward, especially the White Casket and the Speckled Rat, selling faction contracts to the foolish and the drunk. For a few gold pieces, Qaida buys the rights to their future corpses. Later, when she needs a favor, be it money, muscle, or influence, she finds a signer and offers to tear up his contract in exchange for his aid. Most agree. After all, signing away your corpse for eternity comes easily when heady with wine, but the morning brings sober realization, regret, and fear, and a desire to cancel the bargain if at all possible. True enough. But what's your owner do about the Burks who sign their names, take their coins, and then tell her to pike it when she comes calling? In such instances, she employs a gautier known as Sar, a collector of corpses who supplements her modest income by going after such reluctant fools and convincing them to accede to Qaida's request. My owner primarily sends Sar after those who possess some usefulness or those who flout the terms of the contract by refusing to die after an acceptable length of time. Currently, Sar pursues Verdun, the elf who runs the Azure Iris Inn above Fortune's Wheel. I'm starting to see why Shemeska took an interest in this cutter, but why the skull? What's your story, Mimmer? I mean, you and Qaida look cute together and all, just both as bald as wastrel legs, but why does she cram you with chant? I record the terms of contract to guard against the loss or theft of the signed papers, but my owner also fills me with information from thousands of interviews with the planeswalkers and adventurers who pass through Sigil daily. She approaches anyone who might have knowledge to pass on. Even the dimmest-looking barbarian could possess a secret or scrap of wisdom that might help her quest to control the Dustmen. Yeah, I'd seen that myself. I've watched Qaida move from table to table at the Speckled Rat, using the Mimmer to suck up all the chant she could. I think she cast tongues or some such spell so she could talk to everyone she met. She told folks she wanted pure knowledge for its own sake, that, as a Dustman, she just wanted to understand the nature of existence. The lady was cold, empty as clinical as a killer, the perfect Dustman. But she was also incredibly thorough. No fact escaped her or her skull, no matter how boring or pointless they seemed. I mean, no Modron or governor could have done better. Sometimes she'd just sit back and let Assad talk for hours, hitting him with one probing question after another, dropping a few coins in his hands when she was done. Usually it didn't seem like she was looking for any particular bit of chant. She just wanted to know everything. What's it like to kill a beholder? The depth of the blood marches outside of Torch. When I grabbed that skull and ran, a Bar herbalist had already wasted an hour spouting off his theories on the nature of Razorvine. But other times it looks like she was digging for something she knew was there, like she'd already ripped away Assad's skull cap and peppered him with questions to steer him in a particular direction. Tell me true, Mimmer. Does your owner have some kind of trick that lets her peep into a Burke's mind? My owner possesses a psionic talent of ESP, which she can know another's thoughts. She brings it to bear when an interviewee seems to withhold potentially valuable information. But her mental power is not strong enough to extract hidden secrets in full. Thus, Qaida tries to lead the target down a path towards full disclosure. Needless to say, her method sometimes startles and antagonizes the target, but it often succeeds. And the fact she paid out in gold for sometimes just a few minutes of talking didn't seem to hurt either. Which reminds me, hey Smiley, when Qaida was paying those Burks in the pub, one of those coins was always solid black. What's all that about? My owner has an agreement with a shadow fiend called Ly'kritch. In her search for knowledge, Qaida comes across beings whose minds are sharp and full, irresistible prizes for a shadow fiend. The black coin she includes in her payment is a marker, a beacon by which Ly'kritch later finds the victim and imprisons his mind in a gem. Qaida even supplies the fiend with gems for that purpose, the stone she buys from the dwarf trader Tarholt. Coming as they do from the Dwarven Mountain, they are especially suited for the storage of spirits. Great blades, Shemeska's going to pay me triple for this job. Mimmer, why didn't you tell me about this sooner? I am enchanted only to answer questions put to me, and only those questions that draw upon the knowledge in my shell. Yeah, spare me. Listen, can't those Burks just toss away your owner's sodding black chink coins? Certainly, but Qaida claims that the special coin is her personal token, which the recipient can exchange for one future favor from the Dustmen. Of course, Ly'kritch pursues the fool as soon as night takes the city. Many a liar and braggart have met their doom by passing themselves off to Qaida as fonts of great wisdom. But where's this shadow fiend now? Does it live under her bed or something? Ly'kritch usually lairs in the catacombs beneath the mortuary, while Qaida has quarters in the building proper. She often wards her room with Wyvern Watch or similar magic, and she uses the Sacred Guardian spell to maintain a link with Ly'kritch so that each may know the condition and whereabouts of the other. Furthermore, my owner often lets Ly'kritch walk the streets in her body or in the body of a victim, but I cannot identify the present location. Never mind. I grab the skull and stuff it into my bag, just as the darkened alley grows blacker than the night, but it's too late. I feel it in my bones. A shadow wraps around me like a rug, and I curse Shemeshka's foul name. In contents of recording number 17787, the last minutes of life of a petty thief, as absorbed from the corpse mere moments after its discovery. Property of the Public Sensorium Civic Fest Hall. Therein lies the end of our reading. So what did we just read there? Interesting presentation as it talks about Qaida, who has been mentioned several times. She interviewed Sigil earlier on. She interviewed Sly Nye. Both of their book entries were done via interview form, with the focused non-player character discussing things with Qaida. So now we finally get to Qaida. We don't even get to talk to Qaida, but we talk to her memor, the little skull. As you can see in the picture to the right, there's a floaty little skull that records all the information, basically a tape recorder. So the story here has some unnamed random thief snatching Qaida's memor in an attempt to sell the information to Shemeshka the Marauder. As he's talking to the memor, we learn a little bit about Qaida, her background being born as Vanasamir, but living amongst tieflings in the lower planes of the Grey Waste. The Grey Waste is Hades. Aran is a Celtic death god. So she is actually, even though she's an Asimir born of both celestial and mortal blood, she is unrepentantly and undoubtedly evil, going so far as to cast spells to mask her alignment and to give her the ability to lie at will. Qaida exists to increase her power and increase the power of her deity Aran, and she sees the faction of the Dustmen, the takers of the dead, as it were, within Sigil as a potential tool to expand Aran's influence both through Sigil and the multiverse proper. That's her initial goals, and that's really the only thing we are given with as DMs to work with. Fun things go along with it if you include the Dustmen into your game faction, the Dustmen faction into your gameplay. The single thing they are about is making sure that everything dies. Everyone is supposed to die, and death is a natural course of life, and to truly live is to die and pass forward into undeath, where at that point you would get to exist forever and ever and ever. So they are a death cult, not a murder cult. They truly believe that every being should be able to live its life to its natural termination, but upon the natural death, there should be no resurrections, there should be no return. You are done, you are gone. That's kind of the idea behind the Dustmen and the Dustmen faction, and what Qaida works towards. So when we look over at her stat block, she's an Asimir. She's a priestess, level 8, according to this, CR6 to CR10. I definitely up her rank for 5th edition play, because 5e is a lot more powerful, obviously. She commands undead. She's dignified, exacting, and cold when she discusses people, when the players meet her. She can often be found offering contracts in the Speckled Rat or the White Casket, seeking information for her memor anywhere in Sigil or at her quarters in the mortuary. When role-playing Qaida, she is calm and almost regal in her bearing. Qaida is extremely patient, waiting for others to fill the silent spaces in conversations. She's unemotional. Her favorite response is a slight nod, and her tone remains flat whether she asks Assad's name or inquires why he killed his boss. If attacked in public, Qaida appeals to good passerbys for aid. She does have the noble form of an Asimir, though she can also command undead to help her. She is proficient with her decisive flame and quite willing to use cause blindness or deafness. In rare instances, the Shadow Fiend Ly'kritch may come to her aid if she gets in big trouble. So she can be linked to Sigil, Judge Gabberslug, Ly'kritch, Sly Nye, Luvius Ruskin, Sar, Shemeshka the Marauder, Tarholt, Tripicus, and Verdun. These are the stories, these are the non-player characters that are in this book that are connected to her. So when it comes time to use her, from my personal experience, she is a difficult non-player character to really to get your players to interact with. because you're playing her calm, you're playing her cool, you're playing her collected, you're playing her unbothered. She is focused on such a big, long game that no matter what your players throw at her, it doesn't really rattle her. Modern players tend to not enjoy dealing with Qaida because she is not impressed with them, their antics, their BS, any of their stuff, their flirting. The standard ways that players kind of show that we're the players, we're the heroes of the story. Qaida is unimpressed with any of that. She really doesn't care. If anything, she's going to let the party continue to talk and talk and talk and talk, sitting there staring at them blankly. Maybe sighing once in a while and getting on with her day. So when role-playing her, she's a challenging character for your players to engage with and want to deal with. That tends to push her more towards the antagonist side, and certainly with her connection to the Ly'kritch and well, remember, we read the story about the Ly'kritch, the shadow fiend that's out there collecting souls, as it's searching for the secrets of some wizard that knows the chant to destroy the Lady of Pain, because remember we read about that in Omat. Yeah, a lot of the stories are starting to come in. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of the other videos. All of these little non-player character stories suddenly start connecting into a bigger, wider web of adventure, of intrigue, and potential plots for us to play around with. But that is all a long way of saying Qaida is an important non-player character, behind the scenes in Sigil. She tends to be a little bit of a challenging character, NPC, to run if you want your players to engage with her. She's cold, she's cool, she's aloof, she can't be bothered, and player characters tend not to gravitate towards those people. Furthermore, with her positioning as trying to upset a faction and move forward as a power player, she can be an antagonist at best, an information source at minimum. But remember, she's way more interested in gathering information than dispensing information. Qaida knows a lot. Her memory knows a lot. Sometimes, depending on your source, some say Qaida is one of the most well-informed NPCs in Sigil, if you want to do that. But the caveat is she's not here to sell info. She's not here to trade info. She's just here to absorb it. So even though she's important, even though she's a lot of fun and an interesting game PC, she will have a limited influence and limited impact on your campaigns in regards to direct interaction with your players. She can be a challenge to roleplay extremely well. But when you do choose to use her, the key with her is to let your players do the talking. You have ESP, or Qaida has ESP, which means us as DMs, we kind of know what we're trying to get out of the players. So we can use her to ask meta game questions that lead the conversation where we need them to go. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But yeah, that's Qaida. Very interesting NPC. Very challenging. If you choose to use her, plan on doing a lot of work and plan on doing a lot more research into the other books. This is one of the few times where you don't get enough out of this entry to really make her matter in the way that she should in your campaigns. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. If you check out the Factals Manifest, you get some more about Qaida and a lot of the other politics, a lot of the other backscene stuff going there. But hey, that's the end of this video. We are getting towards we're at the back third, the back eight of our NPCs. We're getting to more and more interesting and more connected NPCs as well. A lot of the little bits and pieces that we've been seeing floating around in the previous entries are starting to manifest and coalesce into bigger plots and bigger networks. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Appreciate your time. Likes, follows, subscribes are always appreciated. Give me that like button. Give me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you have some questions, drop them in the comments, and I'd be happy to discuss them with you. Join us over on Twitch. We're there Tuesdays through Fridays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., doing kind of the same thing we're doing here. We open up a book. We talk deep about the D&D, how to use it from, when it was written in its classic form, how to update it for 5th edition, if it's even useful. Would love to have you along for the ride over there as well. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you for another video soon. Take care.